Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So the last video did quite well. A lot of people have asked me since that they want a video about the Cambridge Land Economy experience. So yeah, long overdue, but with the boy Noel here, tell them about yourself.
Hello, my name is Noel. I'm a second year land economist at Cambridge. I'm at Fitzwilliam College. Second year. Not really much to say still.
Damn, second year?
Yeah,
Damn.
time goes quick. Time goes quick.
The last time we did this, it was near exam season last year, and so we just wanted to run it back and give you guys more information about the interview process. So, what do you actually remember from the interview process?
Yeah, it was a long process to be fair. Like even just prior, just doing the sign up stuff and just trying to even like submit an application was long. And I remember the interview was split into two. I had it was about 2 hours and a half, 3 hours, but split into two. One with like two professors, the other two with another two. And yeah, both were very different in context. One was very much micro, the other one was quite macro. And the other one was like more testing about how you think as opposed to like, what you know. Okay. So yeah, contextually just very different.
So when did you actually hear back for interview? When did you get that sort of?
That was another story in itself, because I remember just when I was applying, I thought I don't know if I was gonna get an interview, to be fair, at that point, but everyone's getting interviews out like November kind of times, but mine was like 5 days before my interview. So at that point I was thinking there's no way I was getting an interview, because you would have known by then, exactly, right? And even my teacher was like grabbing me out of class, like, have you heard anything? I'm like, not even, but I didn't really I wasn't too fussed at the time. But
so what would you say to people who haven't heard back yet and they're starting to get a bit nervous?
Oh, definitely, like it's gonna come because also 7 out of 10 people get an interview, I think. So
if you're the 3 out of 10, that's tough for you.
Yeah,
that's tough for you, but
you never know. But also, it's not the end of the world. But
yeah.
I definitely will say, like, you can expect it, at any point. I remember I was at the library and then the email just pinged, it was like, we want to interview you, kind of thing. So what about you? When did you find out?
Yeah, I think I found out quite late. I think my college sends out the interview invites quite late. So okay. I had like maybe 2 weeks before mine. I was nervous because obviously I was a gap year guy, so I didn't know what the process was like were we going to hear at the same time as other people, that kind of stuff. But just be patient. I know it's a waiting game, but everything's a waiting game in this process.
So what's like the first thing you did when you realised, okay, I've got an interview?
So I just called up some people that I knew who had gone to Cambridge and just said like, can you give me interview prep? Some people couldn't because they were busy, some people could, but I just practiced as much as possible. And so what was the actual structure of your first interview and your second interview? How long were they? What did you learn from it, etc.? Yeah,
so the first one was very much testing about what I knew at the time. So very much micro stuff. So it depends on the college, and also it depends on the professor. Like whoever's interviewing you, they have their own niche of land economy, which like you might say land economy is niche, but there's niches within that too. So I remember the first one was very much like inequality, and then the second one was very much spatial inequality. So like the difference between inequality within like different regions and stuff. And I remember thinking, I do not know anything about this. Like I thought I knew something about inequality, but spatial, like what the hell is that?
Yeah.
But they they were really nice. It was more so what do you think it is, and like based on like how you think. I always say this. They like if they ask you what's 2 plus 2, they don't want 4. They want to of course they want 4, but they want to know how you got to 4. That's what matters to them, as opposed to the actual answer of 4. So yeah, it was very much thinking on your feet. There's a few throw-off questions which I think we can get into in a minute. But what about you? How did you find that the structure for you?
So yeah, my interviews were split to separate interviews. Each one was 25 minutes each, so it was really, really short. And within the first interview, there was 2 interviewers, so they took it 12 and a half minutes, 12 and a half minutes. And the second one, it was just sort of freestyle. My first interview was mostly around about how can we make a measure of well-being, and so what would we include in that, what would we remove from that. Then they just started asking me questions about like sort of general geography, climate change, sustainability questions as well. So I think we'll save some of the specific questions for Noel's video. But that's a lot of spin-off questions. But the first one I want to ask you is, did you Google your interviewers?
Yes, big tip, because I've never heard anyone say like they've come into an interview and they set questions. They'll always deviate. Like they'll have a body that they want to follow, but they'll always deviate away from the actual thing because it's up to their interest or where you personally take the lead. But I knew, so the mad story as well. So one of my interviewers, so you said there was 2 interviews, and between the 2 it's like a 5-minute break. Funny story actually, because I went to my teacher during the break. I had 5 minutes, and I went to my teacher and said, "I'm cooked." And she said, "I'm cooked." Like I didn't do well in my first one. Then I thought I didn't do well. And she was like, "No, go back. Pull it second half, whatever." Calm. I went back, and then I was like, "Well, let me just search." Still no. Yeah, I searched up the next professor. And then she specialized in something called geographical discontent. And I was like, might as well find out what that means, right? Found out what it meant. And then the first question they asked me in that interview is like, what's geographical discontent? Like, I was like, fair. And like, it's not even about like getting aura points from that, whatever. But it's about like the momentum that I felt after. I felt a lot more confident. I approached questions quite differently because you feel confident when you get the first question right, especially in a Cambridge interview. So definitely do Google your interviews because that might be, like genuinely be the reason why I'm here. Like, because I got that correct. What about you?
I would say I googled them, but it wasn't very helpful in my case specifically. Because all of them were into like development economics or spatial economics. And one was in urban planning, and all of my questions were just completely unrelated. So it completely depends, but I think it's better to Google them and just don't force it. If just let the interview go as it does. But I think it will help, especially if they ask you at the end, do you have any questions for me? You can just say, okay, and ask something in that topic, but don't, be weird about it. Don't be like, oh, I see you've researched this. Don't do too much. Just be cool.
That's another thing as well. Like, I think we'll talk about this later, but just be natural.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the best interviews is like where you kind of make it a conversation and like also kind of come with a view like, cool, I'm trying to find out whether this is for me too, as opposed to like, I'm trying to get in, but like find out whether, composure.
Okay, so I also wanted to ask you, did they play like a sort of good cop, bad cop role in any of your interviews?
Defo. I remember like he's my boss now, innit? So I love him to bits, but like during the interview, I remember every answer I gave, fair. Just straight, like, no, like, give me straight, but give me a sign that, like, I'm getting this right or wrong.
Exactly.
But straight, fair. Okay, fair. Even when he was tearing apart my personal statement, I was like, so you've read this, what does this mean? I'm like, answer is that. Fair. But yeah, what about you? Did they?
Yes.
Yeah,
So I had this professor, I won't state his name, but he was known for being a bit of a bad cop, right? And he just would interrupt me. He would, if I said an answer, he would just be like, "Okay, moving on." Like he just no sort of validation, no sort of like, "Oh, like
yeah."
So yeah, it was rough. But at the end of the day, like a lot of them are just putting on an act, and like when you actually get into Cambridge, like they're actually normal people. So you shouldn't be fazed by it. And especially if they're being very abrupt, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you've done something wrong. It's more like that's just how they want to play it.
Because I even saw a TikTok like right before my interview where I was like, if you think you've done bad in the interview, you've probably done well. Because it means that like they've challenged you.
I know about that.
I walked out of the interview thinking, horror, sign off. Cambridge don't see me. And then after, you're gonna find out that did somewhat okay. But nevertheless, like take it with a bit like, take it easy, conversational. But do show your like there's a time to show off. Like it's kind of like an exam. Like you want to show them what you know, as well as like showing your like potential too.
I just want to sort of unpack that. So when you pressed end Zoom, right? What was that like 1 minute after you finished your interview? How did it feel like?
I vlogged it. I vlogged the whole Like I have the whole process of Cambridge that I vlogged like, on my iPhone, of course, innit? But when the process, so we're going to talk about this as well. But like, so my head teacher let me use his office. Like, I used my office because I didn't want to. If I was going to blame Wi-Fi or something, I'd rather blame my school. So I like my school did whatever. So I used the office, and I remember I pressed end meeting, and then I was like, oh, damn, I don't know how well I did. I could be on the fence here. Kind of like took out my camera, started recording, and I was talking about initial feelings. And I remember I was just saying, not too sure. I think it went all right. I messed up an easy question. So they asked me like, what's the title of this graph we're showing you? I named the x-axis. They're like, no, what's the title of the graph? Then I named the y-axis. And they're like, what's the title of the graph? And I realised it was right in front of me. I was like, oh gosh. But I don't think that's anything they would judge on. But nevertheless, I was just genuinely thinking I could be cooked. What about you? How did you feel when you pressed that button?
A lot of people are very like nervous. For some reason, I felt like the interview had gone very well. Because like my second interview overran by quite a lot. So I was like,
they overran it.
Yeah, like what? But obviously you want to be humble and everything. But like, I just felt like it had gone very well, and so I was confident. But that sort of goes to show that like how you feel after the interview doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah,
it can go either way.
Literally that.
Exactly.
I think there's also potential because so when they asked me a question on what might put it back for me is that they asked me how many countries are there in Asia, and I remember thinking, it could be cooked with this one, could be cooked. And then I remember I think I had to sound like 30, 34 or something like that. They're like, no, wrong. I was like, cool. How many is there? They're like 48. I was like, okay, cool. So why is it hard to know how many countries there are in Asia? They asked me that. I'm thinking, I literally said because I don't know.
I can't count.
But I literally said because I don't know how many countries there are in Asia, and then I know take a minute to think. So I took a minute to think, and I was literally saying my thoughts aloud. I was like, okay, because of that, and then they'll literally see my thought process and like the roadmap I was getting to the final answer, and I got it the minute the interview ended. And they're like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Signed off.
Buzzabita,
Yeah,
Buzzabita.
little free step back. But yeah, definitely about full process.
Okay. So do you remember what you were wearing during the interview, and sort of do you think it affects how it pans out?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like it's too much of an issue. I wore my school uniform, which was like at the time I was wearing like a shirt, tie, blazer, whatever, quarter zip, whatever. But you just want to be looking, I think, formal.
Yeah.
Is the word. Again, I was in school, so I was wearing whatever my school uniform was. But yeah, that's what I was wearing. Yeah.
Do you think it was very important though? Like,
it definitely adds a bit of aura. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if you're showing them that I kind of care about this interview.
yeah.
I wouldn't say be pedantic about it because, again, it's just like you are like kind of selling yourself rather than what you're wearing. But you want to show that like, I'm taking this interview quite seriously. Like, it's not better than pull up in a vest and shorts. Like, that's a bit of a no go. But I'd say trousers.
Pull up in a ski mask.
Yeah, ski mask, wave cap, do rag, whatever. But no, I think wear something that's formal. Why not?
Yeah.
As an interview, you do the same for a job interview, right?
Exactly. So I remember I was wearing like just a shirt, top button undone, and then like a polo jumper on top. I think it does affect it a little bit in the sense that like just play who your interviewers are. Your interviewers are probably going to be old academics who are used to a certain thing. So I wouldn't necessarily deviate too much from it. But that's not to say that you can't be yourself. You can't sort of put your own spin on things. But I would say just work along the sort of formal line. And
Yeah.
So we touched on a bit earlier, like mistakes that you made during the interview.
Yeah.
How many mistakes can you make, or like, do you think it's like a clear line that okay, you've made a mistake, so you're just out?
Yeah.
What would you say about mistakes?
It's never over till it's over. I'll say that because I don't make too many mistakes. But like again, what is a mistake? Because like there's a difference between like an accident and a mistake. Like for example, Wi-Fi bugging. Like that's not your fault.
Yeah.
Like it's not a mistake you've made. It's just an accident that's happened. But the stuff like the thing I touched on earlier about the graph thing, I don't think that matters because that's just like they're just playing around with you because they know you're nervous and asking what the type of graph is. But I don't think that matters. But if you do make a mistake, try your best to like rectify it and like be like, oh wait, hang on, I see where I've gone wrong.
Yeah.
I know the answer now, and this is why I got it wrong. I think if you constantly make mistakes, then I guess it's a bit like I say I don't want to put a number on it, but if you make more than like 6, I don't know. But I don't want to put a number.
You don't want to put a number on it. You said 6. No. I would say I agree with you though. Like, there's no like clear line where it's like if you made this mistake, then you're out.
Yeah.
But they do expect a certain base level of knowledge. So if you get those questions wrong, it'll put you on the back foot.
Yeah.
But you can always still recover it. Usually, as long as you really show your competence.
Yeah.
It's
not even. Sorry, it's not even like it depends what you got wrong. It's pretty much I think what you're saying as well. Because if you get a question wrong, that's like their field, their study doesn't matter because it just shows that like
you don't know about that.
Yeah, and that's fine. But if they ask you a question about like what you're studying and like micro, A level, econ, whatever, then maybe it's not the best science.
Also, another thing is like you guys need to remember that you're probably 17, 18, 19, 20 at the most, and so they don't expect you to have like a 20 years worth of knowledge on this specific niche field. They expect you to answer the questions to the standard of what's expected of someone of your age, right?
Yeah, literally.
So, did they ask any questions about law? Because obviously that makes up around 1/3 of the mix.
Yeah.
So, do they ask you about law? How much law do they expect you to know? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think they don't expect you to know very much. Again, land economy uses a lot of tools to like come under one thing. So like these maths, these law, these economics. I think the main thing is economics, maybe a bit of geography as well. But because my personal statement talks about law, or like I guess constitutional law, because I studied politics, they brought it up. So it's, simple stuff about like voting behaviour and like the significance of that on like legislation and stuff. But if you don't talk about it in your personal statement, I don't think it's warranted at all. But then again, search up your professors because if you've got
super lawyers.
If you got super lawyers,
like, lawyers, oh man.
If you got stop, man, just stop doing the interview, bro.
Oh man.
No, but if you have, if the people that are interviewing you are specialised in like law, which I don't know if that's the thing, I'd brush up on a bit of law. But if that's the case.
Did you know any law? But like, would you say apart from constitutional law, did you learn politics? Did you know like certain cases, or do you know anything about the law really?
No, I knew. So we did. Well, yeah, because I did politics, so we knew like government and politics. Also knew like US like landmark cases at the time because like what I had to like A-level politics was kind of that at the time, but nothing crazy. I didn't because I talked about it in my personal statement, it got brought up. So if you did talk about it in your personal statement, I'd be kind of like prepared to do that.
Yeah.
What about yourself? Did they ask you any questions? Or?
Nah, I didn't get asked any law questions in the whole interview, I don't think. So, once again, you can't sort of predict the questions, but I was very lucky in that case because I didn't know any sort of law outside of what I would have learned in A-level politics.
Yeah.
And obviously, I had a year out, so I was pretty rusty anyways. But yeah, I don't think law is something which you should panic about. If you research your interviews and they're like super, like, giga lawyers, then maybe put in some work. But apart from that, like, just they won't ask you anything that they don't expect you to know or can't coach you through, essentially.
Yeah.
And then another big one which people ask about is the internet connection. Like, did you have any sort of
did you?
moments?
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, what was it saying?
So this was like midway through my first interview. They were changing over between the first interview to the second one, and she just disconnected. Like just completely just disconnected. And the man who was interviewing me was some old, like, tenured professor. And I was like, oh, you just need to press this button. And he's like, no, it's fine. It's fine, I'll figure it out.
God.
And he did not figure it out, like, for another half an hour. So I was just sitting there awkwardly. And he asked me a question in that awkward silence, like a very academic question.
Oh, fair.
And I tried to answer, and he was like, please, no, please.
Did he ask you the question?
You asked, like, what's it got to do with me? So yeah, I was panicking 100%.
Yeah,
but,
no, and actually I'd panic as well.
Yeah, but I think it all worked out. So honestly, I don't think internet connection, usually it won't be your fault. And if it is, they'll take that into consideration. They're quite good with that.
They even sent me an email after my interview saying if anyone had any internet issues, reply to this email so we can like consider it like through your application.
Exactly.
I remember thinking
well, like they make you, I think sometimes they make you join like a hub or something Internet shouldn't be a problem unless like you make it a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That concludes it from us. Thank you, Noel, as well for joining me. Second year land economist. All of our information is linked down below as well. Our Instagram, LinkedIn, just hit us up basically. We can't guarantee we get back to everybody, but we appreciate all the love that you guys showed, especially in the last video. And yeah, drop a like down below, drop a comment, share, and also Noel's video will be linked below as well. And we'll be talking about the tips and tricks for the interview process. So that one should help you guys get well geared up for the process. You get?
Let's go.
All right. See ya.